Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is set to introduce many different revelations as well as twists and turns that will lead to saga-wide implications in this story by director J.J. Abrams. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. So, one great thing about Episode 9 is that we do know that George Lucas is attached to this film. He was actually heavily involved with some of the rewrites during the months of November and December of just last year, and that was actually being used for many of the reshoots that are taking place as we speak right now. And what's really exciting about Episode 9 as well is that J.J. Abrams really is trying to make this the best film of the sequel trilogy. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the set leaks and one of the concept art descriptions, this is where things begin to get very exciting for Episode 9. Now, specifically, it's described that one of the scenes that were filmed during the month of January involved a sequence in which Mark Hamill was over in Cardington and was sitting in front of a green screen where it's described that he was shooting a vital part for the third act of the film that is said to be a reunion between both Luke and Leia. It's described to be a scene in the third act of the movie in which Rey hands Leia Luke's saber, where Leia walks off into the woods on her own, where Luke's Force Ghost is said to appear, where Luke eventually holds the Skywalker saber and ignites the blue blade in front of his sister. It's said to be a moment that was pitched by George Lucas to show the audience that Luke respects an important relic that is connected to his own bloodline. Mark Hamill is said to do approximately 10 takes to get the scene right, given that he was acting and talking to a blank green screen, since the unused footage of Carrie Fisher will be used for the sequence from both the past two movies, and will be patched together with Hamill's scenes. John Williams is said to be recording a special score for the moment that will make it very emotional, where one of the sequences is said to involve Leia hugging Luke by use of unused footage from both The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi from some of the hugging scenes. So, I want to go over a couple of parts about this. Now, first things first, this sounds like a very emotional and sad scene. It's said to be based within the third act of the movie. This could very well be a part of the final frames of Episode 9, maybe even something around the lines of how we saw the Endor celebration. So, with Episode 9, we do know that this movie is going to have a lot of emotional sequences just like this. Now, I can only imagine how hard it was for Mark Hamill to act in this scene. Now, it's said that approximately 10 takes were actually done for Hamill in order to get it right, and I can understand that because he's not talking to anybody physically, he's talking to a blank green screen that's actually going to be patched together and timed in a certain way to make the conversation somewhat seamless. Now, we're still not quite sure exactly how the conversations are going to be worked into the movie for General Leia, portrayed by Carrie Fisher. There's a possibility that they will be getting a voice actor or somebody to do ADR in order to really kind of give us extended dialogue for the character of Leia. I could see them doing that, that's a possibility. But looking past all of this, how Luke Skywalker holds the Skywalker lightsaber and is said to ignite the blue blade in front of his own sister, that is a very emotional sequence for not just the Skywalker family between both Luke and Leia, but it's also a great way to honor the character of Anakin and Luke. You know, in The Last Jedi, that was one of my big pet peeves. It really was. That was one of my big problems with The Last Jedi, was how he just tossed the saber over the edge of a cliff. I couldn't believe it because, you know, that was actually a relic of his own father. It's something that Luke Skywalker once owned, and now this is a scene that George Lucas pitched to J.J. Abrams that's said to be in the works that will make its way into Episode 9, where Luke actually respects the Skywalker saber and actually ignites it in front of his own sister. Now, why does Rey hand it to Leia? That's a big question, right? We're not quite sure exactly what that really means. Does that really mean that Leia is going to carry on with the Skywalker lightsaber? I don't really think so. From all the other leaks that we have been going over, it sounds like there is going to be an epilogue in which Rey has a Padawan, or a student, if you will, that actually was holding the Skywalker saber. So I think that this is just a moment where Rey gives it to her out of respect, where Leia goes over to Luke, and that whole entire scene happens. And what most likely will happen after all of this takes place is that Leia's going to give the saber back to Rey and say that it belongs to her. Even though I believe a proper way to send the lightsaber elsewhere is to Leia herself. That would be the proper way to do things, just in my opinion. So, Luke Skywalker, you know, though this is a Force Ghost scene, it really seems like a very emotional sequence. It sounds like it's going to be a very seamless scene, if you will, by the techniques that they are using between both unused footage and CGI and Mark Hamill's acting and how he's going to be timing his dialogue. Everything sounds very complex, and that's exactly why it took around 10 takes to get this sequence done. Now, we're not quite sure exactly how long it's going to be. It could be 1 minute long, it could be 2 minutes long. Nonetheless, this seems like it's going to be a part of the final frames of the movie. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.